Hi, welcome back to Weekly Wrap-Up by Tech Law Decoded. I'm Kai Rajka, and I've finally settled into a new room in the house, so I hope you get used to the scenery. This week, I'll cover the week's developments in tech and antitrust as well as data protection. We'll start with Google, including a potential resolution of the European Commission's review of Google's acquisition of Fitbit. I'll then move on to taking a glimpse at the Texas Attorney General's monopolization investigation of Google. Then I'll talk about TikTok, which could be an early victim of an emerging trend of digital protectionism. And then finally, I'll wrap it up with talking about the next big digital platform, which is the Internet of Things and a sector inquiry that the European Commission opened into that industry. So, as a reminder, this is not legal advice, and the views expressed are my own. Let's dive in. Google submitted commitments to the European Commission to get its acquisition of Fitbit cleared. To avoid a detailed phase 2 proceeding, Google offered not to use health data collected by Fitbit in its targeting of ads. Fitbit creates wearable devices like smartwatches that people use when they're working out. And so the commitment includes a promise to keep data separate. That's data from Fitbit, from the data that Google has for its search and advertising business. And it's a 5-year commitment with the imposition of an independent monitor to ensure compliance. So the EC is doing in the Fitbit deal what it probably now wishes it had done in previous data-driven deals like Facebook's acquisition of WhatsApp. There are no apparent horizontal concerns in the acquisition. The wearables device market appears to be quite competitive. But it does reflect how we might come to expect more of such behavioral remedies in data-driven deals. The EC is now market testing the remedy, which means it's hearing comments from the market participants and third parties. Third parties are expected to voice criticisms, including about the potential for the deal to foreclose independent wearable manufacturers through limited interoperability with the Android operating system, or from degrading Google's smartwatch operating system, which is called Wear OS. And Google is not totally in the clear in the rest of the world either. For example, this week in Brazil, a consumer group petitioned the country's antitrust enforcer to review the deal. Some of the concerns expressed by the group included whether it will increase data entry barriers and stifle competition in the privacy area. Moving on to the Google monopolization investigation in the US, public records requests this week, it turned up a massive 200-plus page civil investigative demand, which is essentially a subpoena, that the Texas Attorney General has sent to Google as part of the investigation. Based on that subpoena, it looks like the antitrust theories that the AG is considering are very much focused on the vertically integrated business of Google. So that includes interaction between various business lines, including its ad stack or advertising business, YouTube, cloud computing, as well as accelerated mobile pages, which is a service that speeds up mobile load times by hosting publishers' content on Google servers. The theories that seem to be explored according to the subpoena include self-preferencing, tying, and leveraging data to steer users from competitors to Google's own services. So a familiar laundry list of concerns if anyone's been following the various government reports in the digital sector recently. The Texas AG is focusing on Google's ad business. Other states are looking at the Android OS and Google's search business. And the DOJ is running its own investigation as well. As I wrote on a recent Tech Law Decoded post, we're still a long way from knowing how these investigations will shake out. The cases are expected to be filed starting sometime this summer, but that's just the start of a long process that more often than not ends in settlement, which can be difficult to predict. There also might be some relevant political changes at both the state and federal levels in the coming months and years that might impact the outcome of the investigation. A lot of talk of the U.S. taking actions against TikTok out of concerns that the China-based company could do with its out of concerns about what the company could do with its access to user data about American users of the video sharing platform. Some policymakers are floating the notion of banning TikTok in the U.S. As you might recall, last week India actually took a similar step. The FTC is reportedly investigating whether TikTok violated a consent decree from last year, I believe, which required, or 2018, which required tighter data protection practices following a violation of the COPPA, which is a federal children's data privacy law. The Korean government this week fined TikTok for violating privacy rules requiring consent from legal guardians to collect minors' data. So again, children's privacy law. And no doubt, this is all influenced by a bigger backdrop of U.S.-China international relations, as well as Europe-China relations. This week, we also learned that the UK banned its mobile operators from buying 5G equipment from China's Huawei. So, question is the digital protectionism on the frontier? That'll be something worth following in the coming months and years. Finally, Europe's competition authority has launched a sector inquiry into the Internet of Things, IoT. The inquiry will focus on consumer products and services that can be connected or controlled by voice assistants or smartphones. So the types of products that might be at issue are wearable devices like smartwatches, smart home appliances, and things like that. The types of services that might be at issue include music streaming services or video streaming services. Essentially anything that runs through, for example, a Google Voice Assistant. The focus of the inquiry will be familiar to anyone following the EC's efforts in tech enforcement recently. So that includes the use or leveraging of user data, interoperability, standard setting, and self-preferencing by operators of IoT platforms that various digital services and products and devices run on. The process will start with a questionnaire that will go out to market participants. A sector inquiry itself cannot result in a prohibition decision, fine, or a remedy being imposed, but it can lead to a specific case being opened. Not surprising to see the European Commission focusing on the Internet of Things. IoT is the next digital platform. It will be where people search for information, where they consume content, and make decisions about what to buy. So it's only natural to see the abuse of dominance issues that we've seen come up in other digital platform contexts popping up now in the context of the IoT. Final report, though, is not expected for a while, at earliest being the summer of 2022. So that's it for this week. For more on the latest developments in the worldwide efforts to regulate the digital revolution, check out techlawdecoded.com or follow me on Twitter @KaiRoska. Thanks, and have a nice weekend.